The Chinese have been extremely aggressive when it comes to electric cars, but they just admitted that they got it all wrong in 2021. Hello, my friends. You're watching the Electric Viking. My name is Sam Evans. Welcome to the channel. Fantastic to have you here today. Thank you for subscribing and liking. There's been, thousands of new subscribers over the last few weeks, and it's been awesome to see all of you come on board and support the channel, especially to those of you who have jumped on Patreon and supported us financially. It means a huge amount, and it helps me to make more videos and spread the good news and the truth, not the nonsensical rubbish that's coming out of a lot of the mainstream media still about electric cars, about batteries, and about a really awesome future that we all have to look forward to. So, what have China done so wrong this year? Well, they haven't really done anything so wrong other than some of their ridiculous political decisions and human rights decisions. And anyway, let's move on from that stuff. China will crush estimates and sell 3 million EVs in 2021, according to CAAM. Well, Chinese government predicted they'd sell a certain number of EVs, electric vehicles, this year. And I honestly didn't understand what they were talking about, because as far as I could tell, the number would be much higher than what they predicted. It was, but it was actually much higher than what I even predicted. Now, carnewschina.com has reported that recently, Chen Shuaha, Deputy Secretary General of the Chinese Association of Automobile Manufacturers, the CAAM, much easier to say, I'll just stick with the CAAM from now on, said in an interview with the Beijing News that China's annual production and sales in 2021 will exceed 3 million electric vehicles, far more than they expected at the beginning of the year, which is fantastic news because many of those EVs will be soon available for you to buy. Wherever you are, they're coming. Now, the CAAM was established in May 1987 and it's a social organization approved by the Ministry of Civil Affairs of the People's Republic of China. Isn't it weird? People's Republic of China, it's basically a dictatorship. Anyway, BYD, GAC, SAIC Motor, FAW, Dongfeng Motor Corporation, Chery, CATL, and other automobile manufacturers, Automobile Industry Media, Automobile Industry Chain Enterprises are members of this association. In an interview with the media, Chen Shuiha believed that the lack of chips this year has seriously affected automobile production in China. Now, the shortage of chips has continued to affect the automotive industry this year. Chinese vehicle enterprises reduced production by 2.4 million vehicles from January to August, with an impact ratio of 15%. That's never been seen before in the last 30 years. From the perspective of the whole year, it is conservatively estimated reduction of cars due to chip shortages is more than 2.5 million in China alone. That's more than 10%, around about 15%. But chip shortages are not equal, as sales of electric vehicles, new energy vehicles, are going crazy in the country, as I reported a few days ago. I'll put a link in the description below to the exact data on what I reported a few days ago. That video, I think, was one of the most interesting ones I've made this year. Now, Shen said that the chip shortage would continue for some time, and the shortage situation may continue until the second half of 2022, and may eventually reach a tight balance. Now, Tesla has reported that chips and get enough batteries and just, having enough factories to build the cars that they need for the demand they have is challenging. From January to September this year, China's production and sales of new energy vehicles completed. New energy vehicles totaled 2.2 million, and that gave them a year-on-year increase of nearly 200%. Now, what about charging stations? Well, in China, by the end of September, there were 1.04 million public charging stations. And the charging stations built with vehicles accounted for about 75% of cars. The ratio of new energy vehicles to charging stations is 3-1. That's pretty impressive. So it appears as though the development or the build out of charging stations in China is keeping up with the sale of electric cars, which is not the case in most countries around the world. Whatever's happening in China, government, private industry, they're doing an incredibly good job of building lots of charging stations to actually help and encourage the rollout of electric cars. Now, Chen claims that there's not enough high-end batteries for higher-end car EV electric cars, so batteries with a high energy density, but there's actually an excess in terms of the amount of batteries for low-end cells, so for cars that are, say, cheap cars like the Wuling Hongwan Mini. Now, I don't know if this is true, but it's quite interesting to hear. Now, one of the interesting trends in the battery market is that the world's largest battery company, CATL, are significantly extending their lead on LG Chem or LG Energy Solutions, as it appears as though the trend, the move towards lithium iron phosphate battery cells is accelerating, and LG Chem doesn't currently make lithium iron phosphate battery cells, so it's a bit of a disadvantage for them. But remember, lithium iron phosphate currently only comes out of China. So this is huge for the Chinese battery industry. Now, Chen Shuiha said that from the perspective of the development cycle of China's automobile industry, electric vehicles will grow for at least 10 years into the future. And they're predicting that electric vehicle sales will represent around 80% of all car sales, 70 to 80% of all car sales in China in 2030. What's my prediction? You all know what it is. 100% of car sales in China in 2030 will be electric. Chinese consumers are fairly demanding, they're fairly particular. Of all the new energy vehicle sales in the month of October this year, which represented 20% of all car sales in China, 17.3% of those were fully electric. Consumers, when they have a choice, prefer electric cars versus anything else. That much is clear. And that trend is only likely to continue accelerating in the future. Thanks for watching the channel. Look forward to seeing you again on the next one. Bye-bye.